really wasn't until I met Stephanie that that I knew that, okay, now I'm ready to strap on the oxygen tank, go hand in hand with her, and let's go up the hill.
When did he first bring this to you?
I actually performed at a cancer fundraiser for Sean Parker, and I was singing La Vie en Rose that night. And Bradley was in the, I almost called you Jackson just now. Bradley was in the audience. And the next day, he came over to my house to meet me. And it was really like instantaneous. As soon as I saw his eyes, we had this instant connection. And, you know, we're both from the East Coast, we're both Italian. You know, before I knew it, I was heating up some leftover pasta for him in a pan, and we were eating together. And then he wanted to sing together. So I printed out the song he wanted to sing, which is called Midnight Special. And I was nervous, of course. I had never sat down really with an actor of his caliber before, ever. And I started to play, and he started to sing, and I just stopped playing, and I looked over at him, and I said, oh my gosh, Bradley, your voice, you have a voice, you can sing, oh my gosh. It comes from his gut, it comes from the inside of him, you know, the nectar, you know, of his being. It's so soulful. And then he said, should we film it? So he took out his cell phone and he filmed us, and we started to sing together. And before I knew it, we were harmonizing and we were laughing and we were looking at each other. And I really truly knew in that moment, that he's the only actor in the world that could play a rock star.
Many different emotions, and they were all great. Yeah, I remember you asked me that question, I remember leaving her house after it was over, feeling so overcome with inspiration. Because she was so present and kind and just disarmed me. And the greatest artists I've ever met in my life do that very same thing. You know, Clint Eastwood, you're around him for 2 seconds and all of a sudden you feel like he's a guy that lives down the block. Yeah. Same thing with Robert De Niro, same thing with Meryl Streep. There's just something about, I don't know if, when you've achieved that level of creativity and success in it, the confidence as a human being, I'm not sure what it is, but she made me feel so comfortable. And I knew going in that if we don't sing together, I'm just like an idiot, or there's no chemistry. I wouldn't even want to ask her to go on this journey. So, but it kind of just happened organically, I have to say.
Yeah.
Like I had this idea in my mind, maybe we would. I didn't know it would be 10 minutes into meeting her. You know? It kind of happened when I walked in the living room and I saw your white piano, and then we were outside and I'm like talking to you and I'm thinking, maybe we should just try it. And that's why I said, listen, do you want to just sing this song, which she had never heard, didn't know. And we taped it, and we only sang it once, and that was what I filmed. Just on my iPhone, right on the piano.
Do you still have the video?
Oh, sure do.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that, well, at the same time realizing the journey ahead and how treacherous and long it was going to be, but just so excited.
Almost every single person has told me they liked the way I sounded, but that they didn't like the way I look.
I think you're beautiful. It's one of those moments in your life where you find a artistic paramour, and you think, wow, and the fact that it's her and I, and how did that ever happen? And then it just, it was incredible.
For me, there was not nervousness because we really made a contract, you know, together as friends when we first met, and when we decided to do this, that, you know, he said, you know, you're an actress, and I said, you're a musician, and we shook hands. And, you know, when you have that exchange with a collaborator, it makes for a very pure artistic experience. I've said this to him before, you know, I've sang with a lot of different people, but sometimes you can be singing with someone and you feel like they're singing at you, or you're still just performing for the audience and they're not singing with you and telling the story. And I loved singing with him so much, and we did everything live. So,
yeah.
you know, take after take, it was fresh and new, and I love his voice, and I loved the way our voices sounded together, and you know, we found love through music.
But that said, the only reason why you have experience is because of all the hard work that she has put in, and the rest of the cast and crew. You know, it's one thing to have chemistry, and it's another thing what to do with it. The one thing, I knew the talent, I knew the potential, but I also knew that it wouldn't really happen unless there was a tremendous commitment that was made. And the fact that it wasn't lost on me, she has a full life, you know, a full career that has a lot of demands. And for her to take the time that she took to prepare and to commit to this project, it was a massive undertaking and also a massive sacrifice in her whole other life. That to me, as I said before, time is the biggest currency. The fact that she dedicated so much of her precious time to this project is the reason why it is what it is. It was the most fun I've ever had editing a movie, by far. Yeah, there was just a plethora of material to work from.
But that was a, symptom of Bradley's passion. When you are working with someone who's better than you, you want to rise to the occasion. And I saw him giving it everything he had, wanting to know everything about the music industry, wanting to know everything about the backstage, wanting to know everything about, being a musician. I was floored, and writing the script, and writing music, and directing, and acting. I saw and had such a privileged experience to watch him that I said to myself every day, you better bring it, and you better leave every last drop of blood on the floor of that scene. I felt so taken care of. I just trust him completely, and he just said it all.
I mean, the gift was, the first time we went on stage was the week in between the weekends that Stephanie did Coachella, and the first time was "Dig in My Grave," a song that's on the soundtrack that didn't wind up in the movie, and that I really sort of cut my teeth there, which was wonderful. That allowed me then to, because then we started to hop onto real stages, just stealing 8 or 4 minutes. But it was because I had that camaraderie on stage and that, okay, it's going to be okay. And she's looking at me like I'm a musician, Right. So when she's looking at me and believing I'm a musician, well, I must be a musician, honestly. And she doesn't lie when she's acting at all. I mean, it's like, if it's not there, she's not going to pretend it's there. So that was wonderful to just stare across as we're singing this song, like, oh yeah, we're actually doing it. There's people listening and we're singing. It was kind of thrilling.
I mean, I felt an instant chemistry with him, kindred spirit, two people that love art, people that love creating. And the first time I heard him sing in my house, I was so overwhelmed by his voice.
That really came down to script and structure. And because I knew if you don't buy into these two people, you're not going to be able to go on this very treacherous journey, as it speeds up and starts to head downhill. You just won't be on board. And the idea rhythmically came out of, I remember when I first moved to Hollywood and started to become friends with people who were very successful, I realized that a night out with them was not a night out with me and my buddies in Philadelphia. The access to go places and the night just takes us, I always found that so thrilling. I still can recall nights out where I'm like, wow, and then they go here and here. So I really wanted that to be a major part of their interaction. The night where he just picks her up and then they go on this night, who knows where it's gonna end up. And you often wind up at like pizza joints with a really famous person. You're like, oh, you do this too? I mean, there's so many elements of that I didn't know if someone who hasn't been in that world knows that exists. So that was the basic structure. I wanted a night out, but it's hard to start a movie in like almost real time. You kind of have a real time experience with them. It's one full night, But in that, I thought, is really the opportunity to have a 20-minute sort of intro to them where we can really just take moments, because it's all about moments. And they both had to discover each other as musicians, true musicians that can inspire each one of each other and also be attracted to each other, and that there's chemistry. So those were the demands, and I just plotted them out. He first hears her sing, he loves her voice, they have that connection when she's close to him. He's kind of bewildered at that connection, almost like, wasn't expecting that. Then he goes backstage, still interested in her, but it's not until they're in the parking lot. But before that, she's like, recognizes who he is, like, wow, that's kind of crazy. But then when she goes out to meet him, for them to go out on the night to the bar, she hears him sing this song in this drag club and is completely moved and inspired in a way that surprises her. And then she surprises him in the parking lot when she sings this song that she wrote, and he realizes she has a lot to say. The very thing he said to her in the bar, he witnessed. So those were the sort of landmarks that I wanted to hit in that opening. But I had the beauty of doing it with her, so it was effortless.
I couldn't believe how soulful he was, how much of a storyteller he was. And then we sang together, and our voices, they sounded great together, and I could hear it right away.
And it is when she's singing La Vie en Rose in the bar, and they've never met before, but she she's laying back, and you, it's a close-up on you looking at him, and that moment is really magic. And I think there's the build and those great moments together, but I was with it from that moment, just the look in your eyes, where you kind of stopped performing for a second and you just saw him.
Yes.
And there was the recognition, and then there was something else.
Well, she recognized him before that. If you look at the movie again, she notices him as she's clearing one of the lights. She looks down.
Oh, it's funny. I kept wondering, has she noticed that?
Yeah, she notices him
biggest
there.
rock star in the world.
Yeah,
is
and
there?
then she says, "I thought that was you." And we were harmonizing and laughing, and you know, when something like that happens, it's very, very rare. And I think that we both held on to that, and our friendship grew and grew, and that's how this film got made. Is
Close friends describe me as
kind.
Close friends describe me as. I mean, that's a hard thing to answer. I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
only I know that I am.
Doing my very best.
I'm going to be very bad at this.
No,
'Cause
you
I
won't be
literally,
bad
literally, I'm pretty transparent. I don't think only I for anything. I mean, this person, she knows everything about me, every single thing. So the answer
do
is
you.
yeah. So the answer is there is no only I.
The friendship, and also just having a tremendous filmmaker by my side, and just leading me through the whole thing, showing me the ropes, and then also empowering me to show him what my life is like and what the music industry is like. And
The song that always makes me dance.
Thunder Road, Bruce Springsteen.
Right now, it's Cecilia by Simon and Garfunkel.
The movie I've seen the most times is
The Wizard of Oz.
That's a tough one. I don't know which one passes the other one, but I mean, Unforgiven I've seen 100 times.
what's the other one?
Oh man, Once Upon a Time in the West, Shampoo, Life Lessons. I've seen. I love movies. Yeah.
And also watching him, study everything about, the backstage area. I mean, he has endless stories of, how he prepared for this role, and he nailed it.
This is easy. I start every day by doing.
I like to take a moment for myself outside and to just look out into the world.
Meditation.
Last question. When we're done here, I would really like to
Eat.
Did he take your answer?
No, she just
We just said at the same time exactly. I meant take a bath.
Tell me something, girl. Are you happy in this modern world? Or do you need more? Is there something else you're searching for? I'm falling. In all the good times I find myself longing for change. And in the bad times I fear myself.
Tell me something, boy. Aren't you tired trying to fill that void? Or do you need more? Ain't it hard keeping it so hardcore? I'm falling. In all the good times I find myself longing for change. And in the bad times I fear myself.